What you're about to hear is not casual advice. This is a turning point, a recalibration of how you speak, how you move, how you think, how you act. It is a change in how you decode what happens to you and how you step into the future. Let me give you a truth most men never learn until the final chapters of their life. Your reality bends toward the story you tell yourself. Your expectations are not harmless, they are blueprints. What you believe about what's possible is what you train your eyes to see, what you push your hands to build, what you allow yourself to chase. The life you experience isn't luck, it is focus. Your repeated thoughts are magnets that drag your behavior and your surroundings into alignment. So imagine if you made a choice right now to assume that everything is tilting in your favor. Imagine living as if every obstacle was rigged to help you win, as if the outcome had already been decided and your only task was to keep walking toward it. This isn't naive optimism. It is mental engineering. This is how those who shaped history kept going when everyone else would have quit. Henry Ford didn't sit around waiting for the world to approve of him. He planted a flag in the unseen future and worked as though the world was wrong until it caught up with him. People laughed when he spoke about a car for the average man, so he built factories instead of arguments. Thomas Edison wasn't shocked by failure. He expected it and kept going anyway. After hundreds, thousands of experiments that didn't work, he carried himself like a man who had already won. He didn't wait to see the light. He carried it in his mind until the world could no longer deny it. Charles Schwab didn't lead from fear. He led from unshakable certainty in his own vision, and that certainty drew other men to him like a tide pulling a ship. Andrew Carnegie didn't move cautiously. He moved like the outcome was locked in. That kind of energy does not wait for proof. It creates it. So why not you? Why not here? Why not now? You've already spent enough of your life second, guessing yourself, hesitating, rehearsing what could go wrong. You've carried the weight of worry long enough. That version of you, the one who freezes, who overanalyzes, who hides when life gets loud, he cannot coexist with the man you are becoming. You cannot live with two minds. One must go. So here's a new standard. Act like life is conspiring for you, not against you. Not because you are guaranteed a result, but because this posture makes you unstoppable. When you begin to operate as though success is inevitable, you walk with more courage, you speak with more authority, and you stop begging life to go your way. You start commanding it to. This is not just another motivational message. This is a new operating system, and you repeat it not once or twice, but until it rewrites the code in your subconscious, until doubt becomes the weaker voice. Because fear cannot exist in the same place as full belief. The second you choose to live as if victory is secured, fear has no place left to sit. Say it with intensity, not in your head, but out loud. Feel these words run through your body like current, because what we are doing here is not entertainment. This is rewiring. And by the time we are finished, you will not think the way you thought before. You will not move the way you moved before. You will not be the same man you were when you pressed play. Let's start with a single question, a question that can rewrite the entire direction of your life. What if everything works out? Not just the easy moments, not just the convenient situations, not just the outcomes you secretly hoped for, all of it. The quiet seasons, the painful chapters, the betrayals, the delays that left you restless, the nights when nothing made sense. What if all of it was constructing the exact version of you required to hold the dream you've been asking for? Most people will never live inside that question. They wake up scanning for what might go wrong. They carry conversations about worst-case scenarios. They expect disappointment. They wait for the crash, even while life is lifting them. And because they expect disaster, they unconsciously aim their energy toward it. But there is another way. A way that doesn't need hype, that doesn't need perfection, that simply asks one thing of you: choose to believe before there is evidence. Because belief is not a reflex, it is an act of will. And what you choose to believe is what your subconscious mind builds around. The subconscious does not debate with you. It takes whatever you feed it and begins constructing reality to match it. If you tell yourself nothing ever works out, your mind says understood and begins filtering out every opportunity that doesn't fit that narrative. That's all you see, that's all you expect, that's all you allow yourself to chase. Not because of magic, but because you stopped looking for anything else. So imagine the opposite. Imagine waking up and letting one silent phrase run under everything you do. Everything is turning out for me. Even if you're broke, even if you've been betrayed, even if your plan just fell apart, you still move as if the doors are opening. You still speak as if the deal is already done. You still build as if the foundation is already solid. That belief, practiced daily, would shift the course of your entire life. Because when you assume things are aligning in your favor, you stop panicking. You stop rushing. You stop needing validation. You become calmer under pressure, patient in silence, consistent when no one is watching. Edison famously said he hadn't failed. He had just found thousands of ways that didn't work. That wasn't just persistence. That was a man who already saw the light bulb in his future and simply had to keep finding the right path to meet it. Henry Ford's investors laughed when he dreamed of an affordable automobile. He didn't waste his time defending himself. He kept building. That is not arrogance. That is faith with discipline. That is a man who moved as if the future he wanted was already here. The weak wait for evidence. The strong act as though the evidence is already stacked in their favor. That's what this mental shift does for you. It removes the need for approval. It replaces fear with composure. It installs a single thought. The result is locked in. I am just on the way to meet it. So again, what if it all works out? What if the delay was divine timing? What if the betrayal was protection? What if the confusion was construction? What if what you call a failure is actually the doorway to the version of you who can finally hold what you've asked for? Once you accept that assumption as your baseline, you no longer fear the unknown. You welcome it, because the unknown is not an enemy. It's proof that something new is forming. Your only job is to keep going, to build when it feels pointless, to lead when nobody is clapping, to move like the outcome is locked even when today's scoreboard says you're losing. The scoreboard doesn't measure faith. The scoreboard doesn't measure fire. Only you know that. Say it right now. I act as if life is working for me. I do not panic. I prepare. I do not wait for signs. I build quietly. I cannot fold because I've already chosen how this story ends. This is not feel-good fluff. This is mental combat. It is the discipline to stay centered when the world spins. Because once you decide the ending, you no longer flinch at the middle. Act as though the victory is done, and soon the world will begin to reflect that certainty. There is one quality that separates those who drift through life from those who shape it. A clear, blazing purpose. A target so deeply etched into the mind that it becomes impossible to ignore, even in failure, even in silence. Without it, your energy scatters, your focus fragments, you get pulled into distractions and call it living. You start 10 projects, finish none. You confuse business with building, you confuse movement with momentum. But the moment you become a man with a definite purpose, everything narrows. The day no longer pushes you around, you tell the day what to deliver. That is power. That is transformation. Every man who altered history had such a purpose. Ford did not casually dream of being rich someday. He decided to change how the world moved and worked until it bent toward his vision. Charles Schwab knew exactly what he was there to create, and his clarity made hesitation vanish. Lincoln didn't stumble into greatness. He committed so deeply to a course that even a nation's division could not shake him. You need the same thing now. A decision so final that it becomes the axis your life revolves around. Not a vague list of goals typed into your phone and forgotten. One sentence, one aim, one mission. What must you build before your time is up? Who must you become? What result must your life produce? Not because it's easy, but because you have decided it matters more than anything else. That is your purpose. Once you find it, speak it every morning. Write it every night. You do not wait for inspiration. You rehearse it until it becomes louder than doubt, until it becomes the only thought you can follow. When you have purpose, you stop envying other men because you are locked into your own lane. You stop fearing failure because you know it is part of construction. You stop needing applause because purpose itself becomes your authority. Decisions get easier. Distractions lose their power. Time seems to stretch to fit your mission because every part of you is aligned. But without purpose, even the strongest habits will eventually fail. Even the smartest man will get lost. Write the sentence. Burn it into your soul. This is not for someday. This is for today. Say it now. I know my purpose and I follow it without apology. I no longer wait for direction. I generate it. My energy is sacred. My focus is locked. Empires are born from one decision, so deep that time itself bows. If you haven't made it yet, make it now. The clock has been running, but your decision hasn't been. And once you decide, you must cut off every way back. No quiet fallback plans, no hidden exits. You cannot transform while still holding space for the man you used to be. Burn the bridge. Carnegie, Ford, Schwab, none of them left themselves a way back to comfort. They moved like men who had no alternative but to win. They were not the smartest men. They were the most decided. When you remove the option to quit, you awaken a part of yourself most men never meet. The side of you that must win because there is no other choice. Yes, you will feel the temptation to look back. You will feel the pull to relax, to return to comfort. That is the ghost of your old identity. Kill it. Don't negotiate with it. Speak louder than it. Remind yourself daily that you act from choice, not feeling. That decision hardens your will. It programs your subconscious to treat your word as law. That is where power begins. When you no longer wait for emotion to carry you, when you move because retreat is no longer an option. This is your moment. This is the fire that burns the bridge and makes forward the only way left. And when you rise like that, disciplined, certain, relentless, the world moves with you. There exists a force far greater than sheer determination, more commanding than talent or ambition. The force of the mastermind. It starts with a simple truth. Your life begins to mirror the minds you connect with most often. Your thinking is sculpted by the people you engage with. Your energy is shaped by the environment you remain in, and your very identity is forged by the company you allow into your life. You might think you're strong enough to walk the road alone, but take a hard look around you. Who claims most of your time? Whose words echo in your head? Who do you consult when no one is watching? Those voices are either fueling your future or draining it. A mastermind isn't merely a circle of friends. It is a deliberate mental alliance, a gathering of kindred spirits united by a singular mission to sharpen one another, not distract each other, to push forward, not idle, to build, not merely talk. You must go after this or create it yourself. Seek out men who speak clearly, who carry themselves with intention, who understand the value of silence, who require no reminders of the goal, because their entire life is evidence of it. When your mind links with others who share the same burning sense of purpose, a shift occurs, you gain speed, you gain focus, you amplify your energy, you collapse time. New insights appear that you would have never discovered in isolation because the mastermind gives you more than companionship. It gives you perspective. This is not an idea. It's a principle proven by history's greatest builders. Henry Ford did not create his empire in isolation. He surrounded himself with men who challenged him, thinkers who sparked new strategies, and believers who refused to waver. They did not always see eye to eye, but they stayed aligned in purpose. Thomas Edison thrived within a network of brilliant collaborators who passed ideas back and forth, refining them through mutual obsession. Andrew Carnegie, one of the richest men who ever lived, credited his entire fortune to the mastermind, to the alignment of many minds locked on one unshakable goal. Charles M. Schwab attributed his success to deliberately keeping company with visionaries who pulled him toward a higher standard. But understand this, a mastermind is not an accident. It is intentionally constructed, and not everyone qualifies. A true mastermind cannot include those who gossip, doubt, chase comfort, mock discipline, or wait for permission before moving forward. Remove them from your mental environment immediately. One weak mind in your circle is enough to poison the fire you are trying to build. Guarding your mental space is not arrogance. It is survival. If someone does not feed your vision, they are starving it. If they do not mirror your commitment, they are distracting you from it. If they cannot see the future you are building, they cannot be part of its foundation. Here is a rule: if you wouldn't trade lives with someone, don't take advice from them. You are not responsible for carrying the confusion of others. You are responsible for constructing something sharper, more disciplined, more extraordinary. So what is your move? You intentionally craft your mastermind. Begin with one person who elevates you, one person who speaks order into chaos. Then find another and another until your network becomes an unbreakable structure that makes failure unlikely. Meet regularly. Speak deliberately. Share your goals, hold each other accountable, and eliminate weak language like maybe or someday. Replace it with decisive declarations, with fire. And if you cannot find this group yet, become it. Speak with authority, walk with conviction, and others will either rise to meet your standard or fall away from your life. Do not chase acceptance. Do not try to convert the drifters. Just build. Just move. Just live aligned. The right allies will find you. This is not community for the sake of comfort. It is alignment for the sake of power. When two minds, both sharpened and burning with vision, come together, something mystical happens. The path becomes clearer, results arrive faster, the noise of the world grows quiet. That is the hidden advantage of the mastermind, the ability to magnify your mission. So decide now, who must I connect with? Who must I release? And who must I become in order to attract the minds worthy of this journey? One conversation with the right person can redirect your destiny. One conversation with the wrong person can derail it completely. Choose carefully. Before the progress, before the wealth, before the recognition, there must be belief. No man has ever done anything great without first building it in his mind. You must believe before anyone applauds, before there is proof, before you have any reason other than faith itself. That is the ultimate test. Can you behave as if it is real while it is still unseen? That is what separates the few who rise from the masses who quit. Faith is not a luxury. It is not a nice to have. Faith is the foundation, the bedrock upon which all transformation rests. You may think you need clarity before beginning, but you do not. You may think you need motivation, money, support. You do not. What you truly need is a decision anchored by belief, the kind of belief that shakes your chest, that pushes your feet forward even when fear is screaming. Lincoln didn't know how the Civil War would end. He lacked guarantees, but he moved with faith that freedom must prevail. Ford had no approval, no market, no clear map, yet his certainty bent the world to his vision. Rockefeller started building empires before the infrastructure even existed, because in his mind it was already finished. Edison, Carnegie, Schwab, none of them waited for proof. They acted and forced the proof to appear. Fear delays, fear scrolls. Fear calculates every risk until the reward feels impossible. Faith acts, faith moves, faith decides. Your subconscious does not respond to what is true. It responds to what is repeated and emotionalized. Repeat fear and your life becomes a cycle of self-protection. Repeat belief and your life becomes a factory of creation. This is why autosuggestion is non-negotiable. You must speak your vision daily, not as empty words, but as commands to your identity. You do not merely say, I believe. You live as though belief is real. You speak as though victory is done. You move as though the outcome is inevitable. Belief is motion. If you want faith, act as if faith is already present. Every time you follow through without evidence, you install a new identity, one that says, I am the proof. You will never outperform the picture you hold of yourself. So ask, what am I rehearsing in my mind each day? What story am I repeating? What identity am I nurturing or avoiding? The world doesn't respond to possibility, it responds to certainty. And certainty cannot be faked. It is forged through repetition, through deciding again and again who you are, even when there is no external confirmation. This is why decisive men dominate history. You cannot drift into greatness. You must choose your way into it. Indecision is fertile ground for fear. The longer you delay, the louder doubt grows. A man who postpones his decision is slowly decaying. Train yourself to decide quickly and change your mind reluctantly. Ford did not poll the public before choosing a path. When he decided, the decision was final. Even when told that an 8 Cylinder engine was impossible. He demanded his engineers build it, and they did. Schwab ascended the steel empire not because he was simply skilled, but because he was decisive under pressure. Carnegie built an empire not through endless contemplation, but through bold action. Until you make a true decision about who you are, the world will hand you roles, temptations, and distractions. Decision creates identity. Indecision keeps you chained to the past. Burn the bridges, kill the backup plan, and when the voice of hesitation whispers, do not listen. The choice has already been made. The most powerful men were never waiting for opportunity. They were waiting for themselves to choose. Once they did, the entire world rearranged. And here is a universal law: you are rewarded in proportion to the value you create, not the hours you trade. The average man works only to the level of his paycheck. The exceptional man works to the level of his potential. That is why he becomes invaluable. Schwab started with little more than work ethic and outgrew every position by making himself indispensable. Carnegie gave more than his job required, volunteered for more responsibility, and prepared himself for opportunity long before it arrived. This is the law of over-delivery. The extra mile is empty. Few walk it, which is why it carries all the leverage. Go there daily, not for applause, not for credit, but because that is who you are. The world may not notice immediately, but eventually it cannot ignore you. A man must also cultivate presence. No matter how talented, if your energy pushes others away, you cripple your own influence. The most powerful men have learned to project warmth, confidence, and calm authority. Carnegie listened more than he spoke, and because of it, men wanted to work for him. Schwab smiled often, encouraged freely, and got the best out of people without raising his voice. A pleasing personality is not fakery. It is discipline. It is mastering your tone, your expressions, your interest in others until your very presence inspires trust. People move faster for men they admire. They give loyalty to men who make them feel valued. The most powerful man is rarely the loudest. He is the one who commands attention by simply being present. And repetition seals all of this. You cannot reprogram yourself with one burst of inspiration. You must revisit the vision daily until it becomes the most familiar voice in your mind. Each time you repeat it, the old identity loses power. Each time you speak your affirmation, you rewrite who you are. From this moment forward, walk as though the transformation has already happened. Enter every room like the man who has already achieved what he was seeking. Speak with finality. Act with certainty. Not because you know everything, but because you know yourself. Say it now: I do not hesitate. I move with power. The world bends in my favor because I am aligned with my mission. Repeat it tomorrow. Repeat it every day until it becomes automatic. The man you used to be no longer exists. The man you are becoming has already arrived.